This is the Battle of Onverwacht that happened on the 4th of January 1902, where a major engagement of the Australian and New Zealand forces attacked the Boers and found themselves in an ambush situation in the valley below us. At this particular monument was built some years back by the Onverwacht High School in recognition of the last set-piece battle of the Anglo-Boer War that happened around these hills. Behind me you will see a monument with 5 large pillar stones. These represent the 5 Boers that were killed in this particular battle, but 23 Australian and New Zealand soldiers that were part of the Commonwealth group fighting against the Boers during the Anglo-Boer War were in actual fact killed in this battle, and 79 Australian, New Zealand and British troops were in actual fact taken prisoner by the Boers during this particular battle. The most amazing thing about this particular battle was that both the leader of the British, Major Valentine, and the leader of the Boers, General Opperman, were both killed in this major engagement in the Athol. The key thing to understanding this battlefield is in actual fact the area behind me down in the valley, which we will proceed in a few minutes to actually explain. We are surrounded at this monument by graves, or the sites where the graves were, of the Australian soldiers that were involved in this battle, where in actual fact after running away from the Boers they set up skirmish lines on the edges of the hills to try and protect themselves, and in this particular case were overrun by the Boers and in actual fact were killed during this particular battle. The tactic of the British during the Anglo-Boer War and the last portions of the Anglo-Boer War was to form enormous big lines of soldiers, British soldiers, that would then move over the entire area, hundreds of kilometers long, that would try to sweep up all the Boers in these massive lines of soldiers. The idea was to stop the Boers from the ability to move around within the area. So off to this side, what in effect happened is somewhere during the course of the morning, a large contingent of soldiers came to rest during their tea time. As they were going to settle down for their morning break, they noticed that in the valley directly behind me, a small group of Boers with cattle suddenly appeared at the end of the valley. Without waiting for proper instructions, the British soldiers, New Zealanders and the Australians, the Imperial Bushmen, jumped up and charged up this valley to try to capture the Boers that were in the valley at this particular time. As they came around the corner of this particular valley, off in the distance behind me, there is a small valley which is what we call dead ground. Behind that dead ground were 500 mounted Boers. And as the British soldiers, New Zealanders and Australians swept around the corner of the valley directly behind me, they were charged by a group of 500 Boers on horseback who in actual fact attacked them. Many of the soldiers were immediately taken prisoner, and the Australian and New Zealanders decided to run away up these hills directly behind me and in actual fact form skirmish lines at the top of the hill. All surrounding on the edges of these hills is in actual fact the cranes of rock that demarcate where these people fell. The bodies, of course, the remains of the bodies have been removed many years ago to a central monument site in the town of Ermelo. During this particular engagement, more than 8,000 shots were fired by the British soldiers against the Boers. The action was over pretty shortly after it began, and once the arrival of General Plumer, who came in from a distance in support and started to fire cannons on the Boers were forced to in actual fact make a hasty removal of their soldiers off of the battlefield. During the engagement, directly below me, behind me, there is a gully with a small tree. Now at that site, even a pom-pom cannon, just for a few minutes, was nearly captured by the Boers, which have been a major victory if they'd been able to in actual fact succeed in that regard. Key to understanding this particular battle is that it was the last set-piece battle of the Anglo-Boer War, and it was one of the few open charges of Boers against the British. It is in actual fact recorded in the annals of history that this was something absolutely spectacular, to see 500 mounted Boers charging the British in open battle formation. It's quite a spectacular battle site, and we do offer tours to discerning people to this particular site, and it is quite easy to book this via the Highveld Heritage Tours.